Paddy's gearing up for the GAA All-Ireland Football and Hurling. For all live TV championship games, it's money back as a free bet if your losing first goal scorer scores a goal anytime. Max £20. Excludes shops. T's and C's apply. 18 plus. BeGambleAware.org.
Hello and a very warm welcome to the GAA Postcast. I'm David Jennings from the Racing Post, and I did tell you last week that we would have a legend on the show this week to make up for a lack of one last week, and we have not let you down. We're joined by the man who did this.
Johnny Doyle would like to finish here with a score. What a kick! Marvellous score, a fourth point for Johnny Doyle.
Yes, it is the only man who could kick a point for Kildare for about 20 years. The 2010 All-Star, the legendary Lily White, the one and only Johnny Doyle. We're also delighted to have the expertise of Paddy Ahern from our sponsors, Paddy Power. But as always, we will start with our traditional and controversial 5 quick-fire questions. So Johnny, the first 5 are to you, and number 1 is, what was the funniest or nastiest thing said to you by an opponent who was marking you in a match?
That's one I suppose I could say about both. It was funny after the event, and it was nasty enough at the time. And it's probably too expletive to say on air, but I got playing against Cavan. I was marking Anthony again, and he gave me a third time. Walked on me, questioned my parenthood, my girlfriends, all her things at the time, and afterwards, after really didn't give me a hard time, he shook hands and said, God, I think you're a great footballer. So after all the abuse, it was a nice way to finish off as it was.
And did you return the compliment?
I was sort of seeding at the time. I always had a thing that happened on the field. I shake hands after, so I did that. But I have to say, he went off my Christmas card this for a while.
So there we go, Anthony Gaynor from Cavan. And number 2, who was the most talented defender you've ever marked?
Oh God, it's quite a few. I suppose probably the one that put me to the sword most was probably Sean Oak, the player from Galway in All-Ireland. I thought I was flying at the time, and I spent an All-Ireland semi-final in 2000. I spent the whole match running after him, and then after he kicked his second or third point, I think Nico had seen enough and brought me ashore. So that was a tough lesson. But I'd marked several. You could have you could talk all day about some of the great defenders I played on, and ended up trying to stop them rather than them stopping me. So it can be a cruel place to be sometimes.
So we're giving Sean Oak the player the nod on that one. So the most talented player that Johnny Doyle has ever marked was Sean Oak the player. Number 3, if there was a transfer market and Kildare could buy just one of these, who would it be? Paul Mannion from Dublin, Graham Riley from Meath, or Donny Kingston from Laois?
I take all 3, but I suppose maybe to get more mileage and youthfulness, I'd have to go Paul Mannion, and I hope he has a really quiet day on Sunday. But he's a really exciting talent, a young lad that has been away for a year but has come back, and he's shown the talent he is, and you'd love to have him in a white jersey on Sunday rather than maybe hoping he has a quiet game in a blue jersey.
Okie dokes. Number 4. Fast forward to 2022. So fast forward to 2022. So we're talking 5 years on. Would you rather be the main football pundit on the Sunday game or the manager of Kildare?
Again, I suppose it's difficult, but it's both to be high pressure jobs which every year in. But look, I suppose you'd love. We're on a rich grain of farm, and you were on the sideline. It'd be a nice place to be too. I suppose, it's the next best thing, I suppose, to play in, would be managing a county at some stage. But look, it's a long way away, and we'll be hoping that Keane O'Neill have done a lot of good work before that you'd be looking into things like that. So I suppose being a passionate Kildare man, any contribution you could make to Kildare football would be the direction I take.
So there you go, folks. You've heard it on the GAA Postcast first. Johnny Doyle to take over from Keane O'Neill in 2022. Number 5. Number 5. If I gave you 20 quid and you could have only one bet for the remainder of the football championship, what would you put it on?
I suppose I'd look at the Dublin Kerrys, but I think Tyrone are a team that could cause a bit of upset before the championships. I think they're coming along nicely. They're building a nice team there, and I think with the way they play and the way they set up, they're in a strong position to take a scalp or two along the way.
Good man, Johnny. I'll gladly let you into the Tyrone fan club, which I am one of the founding members of from early on in the year. So it will be Tyrone to win the All-Ireland for Johnny Doyle. So moving on to you, Paddy, your 5 quick-fire questions. Number 1, what was the biggest bet struck with Paddy Power last weekend, and who was it on?
Yeah, it came in a couple of parts, but some poor unfortunate fella had, I think in total, about 14 grand on Galway in the Drono bet market against Roscommon last week. So yeah, I think he might have had 6 grand, and then he might have gone back in again for 2 more bites on the Sunday. But yeah, I'd say apart from myself, he was the most disappointed person watching that match on Sunday.
The funny thing about that match in running was I was watching it in running, and I think like when Galway got it down to 4 points in the second half, I think they were still 4-7 or 8-15 or something. It was
they were a big price. Yeah, there seemed to be an absolutely massive wind, and like before Brian Stack goal, and even after that, I think Galway got the next 5 or 6 on the bounce. It really looked like they were going to take over, but in fairness to Roscommon, they saw it out well.
They did indeed. Number 2, was there any big anti-post bet struck with Paddy Power in the last 7 days?
It was more so, I'd say, the week before, but just like consistently last week after Galway's performance against Wexford, we were seeing kind of a couple of decent sized bets in Galway to win the All-Ireland, and that's just, they actually, I think they were slightly pushed out ever since with the results last week, but we did see a couple of like kind of 2 grand here and another, I think it was a 3 grand bet for Galway to win the All-Ireland as well, at 13-8 last week.
Okie doke. So this might influence question number 3. If you were head of trading and you had to push Dublin out to 2-1 for the Sam Maguire or Galway out to 3-1 for the Liam McCarthy, what would you do?
I'd probably push Dublin out at the minute, just for the simple reason I know they're 1-14 this weekend, but they are going to have to win 4 games, and 2 of them are likely going to be against Tyrone and Kerry. And like I've been kind of saying all year, I think this Kerry team is kind of primed to make a bit of a breakthrough. So if I had to go either way, I'd push the Dubs out to 2-1, I think.
Very good. Number 4, who are the most vulnerable favourites this weekend?
Yeah, it's a funny kind of a weekend for that, because like realistically, when you're looking at all the games, I think Kildare are going to come with a huge performance, but it's going to be hard to see them actually beat Dublin. So I'd say, even though they're very slight favourites, Tipperary probably coming off. I know it was a huge win last weekend, but we'll say the league game earlier in the year, this Armagh team have kind of, they strike you as a team that will just one day go out and kick, 122 or something like that. And I'd say this weekend in a big open pitch in Thurles, I'd actually give them a fair decent squeak. Okay, folks, and your 5th and final question is, what is the most bizarre big bet you've seen struck in all your time with Paddy Power? I'm looking forward to this answer. Oh God, well, we've seen so many, but considering all the stuff that we bet on now with alien life form and all this kind of stuff these days, I'd say it actually wasn't a GAA bet. I'd say the weirdest big bet I've ever seen was when we were betting on the next Pope market a couple of years ago. I think on the day of the announcement, some guy came and he had I think he might have had 5 grand, maybe 10 grand on some cardinal, and your man didn't even win. And to me, that was just absolutely nuts stuff altogether. It's fair to say his prayers weren't answered. No. See what I did there? No, not that day anyway. He might come back the next time, all right. But no. So there we go. And the next Pope, God forbid, Jesus, betting on the next Pope. So there you go. There's the 5 quick-fire questions for Paddy Hearn and Johnny Doyle. And just a quick reflection on last weekend's action. We already spoke about the Connacht final and Roscommon. Johnny, coming to you first. This Roscommon team have come of age. Could they now beat one of the big guns, do you think? They certainly could. I mean, they put in a fantastic performance last weekend, where they played with such passion and I thought, like Paddy said, I thought with the wind and conditions that God would just have enough power for them in the second half, but there was a sheer refusal to let Roscommon. We're not going to let Galway get back into the game. And in fairness, they hadn't had the easiest ride over the last number of months. I mean, there was a lot of in-house criticism of the management, and some former greats didn't sit well. The 2 Mayo men were on the line for Roscommon and questioned their motivation and things like that. But that all galvanised the players, and you could see that passion in them and throughout the field, and they put in a fantastic performance. Salt Hill is a tough place to go to get a win, and they really play well. So Kevin McStay,
They say that this is only a stepping stone along the way. They have bigger plans. While they'll have celebrated last weekend, I believe they're back on the field very early this week, and you know, they feel they've a lot left to say this summer. So it's a good position. They're in an All-Ireland quarter-final now, and they'll be ploughing away, but maybe not a huge, depending on what way things go, but people won't give them one mightn't give them a chance, but they'll see this as a golden opportunity to do something. And you know, I think they have the forwards maybe that might just pick. You know, a bit wasteful at times last week, but if they can work on that and maybe settle down a little bit in front of goals, they certainly have the firepower to cause problems. And
if I was to put a gun to your head and ask you who will get further in the All-Ireland Football Championship, Roscommon or Galway, what would your answer be?
It's a tough one, you know. Sometimes we can read a lot into the last game. You know, when you win, it's great, and when you lose, everything is not bad. And we tend to just totally write off a team on one performance. And that Galway team they're a good team too, and you know, while they had an off day at the office, but I still think there's a bit of a crest of a wave. And you know, before you pull the trigger, I'd say, you know, I'll give Roscommon the bit of momentum to drive them forward. You know, will they end up in an All-Ireland final or semi-final? They could well do. They could well get to a semi-final. I'm not sure the parents, but I don't think they're going to be lifting the standard in the third Sunday of September. I give them the nod to go that little bit further than Galway. Could be wrong.
And Paddy, obviously it was a bad result for you with Galway producing a rather tame effort last weekend. Do you think they can make any sort of an impact in the qualifiers?
Yeah, it was only kind of with around 10 minutes left in the match you realised what an awful shame it was for Galway just to kind of underperform in that 70 minutes, because effectively it nearly ruined their year, because they went straight back into the qualifiers where they had no choice only to play Donegal, which is a neutral venue, but that's going to be a really hard game, and if they win that they've no other option but to play Kerry, you know. So if they were to, obviously if they won that game, Roscommon are going to be probably playing, I suppose, Mayo or whoever comes through that other qualifier, and then they'll have to play Kerry in a semi. But it just makes it so difficult for Galway. I wouldn't put it past them raising a decent performance against Donegal up in Sligo. They're going to have the 13 days to recover. But after that performance, and just in general, to see them going up to Cork Park and giving this Kerry team any bit of a scare is a real stretch, to be honest.
And what price are both for Ireland Glory now, Paddy?
Yeah, Roscommon are 25 to 1. We're actually 33 to 1 at the minute, and Galway are 50s. But that 50s now, considering, like I said, the route that Galway are going to have to take to beat, you know, Donegal, Kerry, possibly Mayo again, and then Dublin, that 50 to 1, you'd be a brave man, I'd say.
I think I'd rather take the 50 to 1 and Johnny Doyle to be the next Kildare manager than back them at that price. And on last week's football qualifiers, plenty of action on Saturday. Has there been any big shake-up, Paddy, in the outright markets after last weekend? Have Donegal been clipped a bit? I presume Mayo were the big movers.
Yeah, Mayo were the big movers. I think we were about 12 to 1 before the weekend, and obviously they were clipped a small bit after the Clare game, and then Galway. The worst thing Galway did last week was make even Mayo's run easier, you know. So they were gone to 15 to 2 after the Galway result. Galway obviously were moved, they were 16 to 1 before the match. They're out to 50 to 1 now. Roscommon, I think they were 25 to 1 after the game, but they're 33s now. And Donegal came in a little bit from the Meath result, but it's hard to know. The thing about Donegal is they can still beat Galway, but they're not guaranteed to play Kerry. They could still play Roscommon, but it's probably most likely going to be a Kerry quarter-final, but they could get Roscommon as well, so they were cut to 33 to 1 as well. Now,
Johnny Doyle, the big question is, are this Mayo team back in business now? Are we going to see another big Mayo challenge for the All-Ireland?
Again, it's a tough one. The evidence up to now would tell me no, albeit that, you know, they showed backline qualities on their last 3 occasions to get results, and that in itself has you know, it shows the character within the team, and no doubt there's huge character in that Mayo team, albeit, you know, they haven't had the success probably outside of our own county. The rest of the country would love to see them, you know, to land that Samogoy, because there've been so many hard luck stories. I just worry for them. You know, Killian O'Connor, Andy Mohan, if these guys are not shooting the lights out, they struggle for scores. And I know young Loftus came into the last or the previous game and scored a great goal and doing it up honours them. But you just worry that in tight pressure situations where half chances have to be taken, I just worry for Mayo that they probably just don't have the quality forwards that they need. But look, no better team than Mayo when the pressure comes on to take a scalp or two. And I think again, they're a top 4 team, and when the business comes around for All Ireland semi-finals, they won't be too far away.
Interesting, and we spoke about obviously there about Mayo's lack of forwards, but I suppose we can't say that about Donegal or Monaghan. And Paddy, Donegal, I was at the match in Navan. They grinded out a narrow 1-point win over Meath. I think this Donegal team is waiting for a huge fall. A poor enough Meath team almost beat them. I think they are one of the big guns that are going to go crashing back down there one of these weeks. Agree?
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with you at all. Now, obviously, I was only kind of seeing highlights from that game, but it did strike me as just watching the highlights and stuff like that as exciting a game it was and everything, you kind of would maybe have to question the quality of it a little bit when you look at what Donegal did, like even falling across Longford, and they were really, really poor against Tyrone, and then Meath themselves against Kildare really let themselves down that day. So like I would question how strong the form was coming out of that game. The most impressive thing from Donegal really is like when at times they might have looked a little bit under the cosh that they just relied on their really big players, like Ryan McHugh came up and got the goal, and like you have to hand it to McBrearty, he landed some absolute monster scores in that second half. So like they still have, like they definitely still have those big players they can rely on, but the question is with all these young lads, and like they are all talented footballers, but it's their first year of championship football, and when push really comes to shove, like maybe it did in the Tyrone game, how likely are those boys to step up? Monaghan, the other side as well, they obviously had a disappointing result against Down. Like they looked to be pretty much like they were really well back on the horse there the other day. Like they looked brilliant. They scored. They absolutely shot the lights out. They're going to beat Carlow very handy again this weekend. Like the biggest thing for them is maybe, if at all possible, avoiding that Dublin quarter final, which is going to be very, very difficult. But like if you had to ask me now at the minute who's the better team, Donegal or Monaghan, I'd say Monaghan. I'd say.
Yeah, I think we'll both favour Monaghan over Donegal. What about you, Johnny?
Yeah, I think so. And like Paddy said there, while they have a few experienced players, they still have a lot of young lads in Donegal, and regardless of how well they've done it under 21, it takes a young guy. The step from under 21 or to being a serious club footballer into England in the county is huge, and it takes time to, and a lot of the time it's hard lessons learned for young lads coming on. There's a lot of good young lads coming from the Donegal, but I just think not there yet. And Paddy McBrearty, he was exceptional to that day against me. Obviously Mickey Hart had seen that, and he wasn't given that freedom to come onto his left foot. And the likes of himself and Michael Murphy, having to move Michael Murphy to the middle of the field is while it's a big plus to have him out there, they need him in close to goal for a target man in around the square. So they're definitely a team that's probably just a little bit behind Monaghan at the moment. But again, Monaghan, can you trust them either? I mean, over the last number of years, they've bowed out of the championship. I expect them no different than anyone else to get over Carlow. But I just wouldn't be putting huge money on them, because when you think they're really going well, they have a completely flat performance and sort of lull you into a sense of security, and then bang, it's all over. And so, while I do see them a little bit ahead of Donegal at the moment, there's still questions.
Now, obviously the big result from last weekend, and it's taken me 20 minutes to pluck up the courage to even mention it, because I've been physically, mentally scarred for the last 6 days, was Cavan's capitulation at the hands of Tipperary. I'll tell you a funny story. Obviously, those who listened to last weekend's postcast would have heard me waxing lyrical about Cavan. Best bet of the year. I put them up in the paper, -2, -6 in the paper. I told the family, I told my friends, I told everybody that Cavan this was the bet of the year that Cavan would annihilate Tipperary. Went home to watch the Meath match, so we went back to Navan, went back to the home place, and being the good child that I am, my dad was away. I said, look, I'll mow the lawns for you. So I was out mowing the lawns anyway, and halfway through the match, I said, God, I better check that score. The game was at 2 o'clock. So 2:45, checked the score, 12 points to 6 to Cavan. Sent a good few of my mates a message kind of going, didn't I tell you Cavan was the best of the year so far? And then lo and behold, the next time I checked the score, it was 20 minutes later, and it was 2-14 to 14 points in favour of Tipperary. Paddy. What happened to Cavan?
Yeah, I was stunned myself, because we obviously, like, in the office, we kind of fancied Tip a bit before blatant after time in there. But, like, at half time, you were throwing dockets away, because, like, I think there was kind of a crossfield wind, and I was trading the match, and I just kind of said, right, well, this is it. Like, we kind of heard in the run-up that Quinlivan was togged or whatever, but we were kind of thinking 6 points down away from home, like, this is absolutely done.
Against a defensively minded team that don't really concede big scores.
That's it. The funny thing about that was, like, when you're watching it back and you're looking back on the highlights, that, I mean, like, it was a big, massive, like, it was a huge mistake for them to concede the goal against Monaghan. It was like a wayward kick out or whatever. But then when you're looking at the Robbie Kiley goal and you're looking at the penalty, it was just like, it was like the sea just opened. It was like, it was like a Cavan we'd kind of never seen before. And I suppose that's a real plus of this Tipperary team at the minute. Like, they've just such belief. When they get a bit of a run on you, it can be hard to stop. It's not like they need a big crowd behind them, because they won't have that most days. But very impressive from them. Like, I think it was a little bit from Colin May with Cavan absolutely just falling apart. But you have to credit Tip as well. Like, it was a really, really, really decent comeback.
Well, they've certainly ruined my summer anyway, that's for sure. And very quickly, reflection on the hurling, Paddy. Can this Cork team go all the way now? That's 3 impressive performances back to back. They're really producing the goods.
Yeah, they certainly have the talent. Like, we'll say, like, some of the hurlers they have, Mark Coleman and Cadigan, were just unbelievable there the other day. Like it's such a massive turnaround from where they were last year, where they were kind of the league and coming into the championship. The only problem I would have with them maybe going all the way is, like, there's going to be 4, no matter what happens in the quarters, there's going to be 4 really, really good teams left. Like, they're going to have 2 really tough games to come up. Croke Park will suit them, but you kind of have to look at what kind of a mindset they were coming into the season with as well. Like, if you told them they were going to win a Munster Championship, I'd say that a bit your hand off, Whereas, like, there just are other teams like Tape are back in the scenario that they're very used to. Galway, these guys have lost All Ireland finals. They're really motivated. It might just be a little bit of a job for Kieran Kingston to keep minds focused and just make sure that these boys kind of really realise that they can win All Ireland and not just be happy with winning Munster this year.
What price are they now, Paddy?
They are 11-4 to win the All Ireland this year.
And Tipperary, obviously, after their huge win over Dublin, what price are Tip?
Yeah, Tip are the same, I'm pretty sure. Just 1 second now. Tip are actually 5-2 and Cork are 3s. Tip, you couldn't ask for anything better after the Cork result. Like, they've got 2 kind of, I know they didn't play well against Westmeath, but that Dublin game was just absolutely perfect for them. Like, there was a little bit of a crowd watching them because everyone was kind of in for Waterford and Kilkenny afterwards, and to put up what they did, 6-22 or whatever, that's just a real kind of morale booster for Tape, and, like, they'll be all guns blazing going into that Clare match. So you'd be a brave man to write them off as well.
Absolutely. So last week's competition winner was PJ Keane from Galway, who gets €25 worth of free bets credited to his account, as he correctly answered that Donegal were the last team to beat Dublin in the All-Ireland Football Championship. So this week's question is, who is the Roscommon football manager? A nice handy one for you there. Who is the Roscommon football manager who won the Connacht title last Sunday? Tweet your answer with the hashtag Postcast, and the winner will be announced in next week's show.
Paddy's gearing up for the GAA All-Ireland Football and Hurling. For all live TV championship games, it's money back as a free bet if your losing first goal scorer scores a goal anytime. Max £20. Excludes shops. T's and C's apply. 18+. BeGambleAware.org.
Welcome back to the GAA Postcast. I'm David Jennings from the Racing Post, and I'm thrilled to be joined by Lily White legend Johnny Doyle and Paddy Ahern from Paddy Powers, our sponsors. So now it's the big one, Johnny, the game we've all been waiting for, and I know you're on holidays, but you've timed the holiday nicely that you're just getting back in time for Sunday to head to Croke Park for Dublin v Kildare. And this, I'll put it to you, is probably the best Kildare team since the real good team you played in. What do you make of them? They've made giant strides in the last 12 months under Cian O'Neill, haven't they?
They have. They have. It's it was free fall there for a couple of years. Went from Division 1 to Division 3, and have clawed their way back into the top flights, which is very promising. Albeit a few new lads, but with the same bunch of players, that had been there for a lot of young team, but lads that would have a bit of experience. So they're making, and but it's a massive ask of them on Sunday and saying all that. I mean, obviously you want to leave your heart to one side for the moment and look, and the evidence is there. We look at the two championship appearances so far. While they've been consistent and good performances by Kildare, but both teams they beat, maybe to a lesser extent.
Be nice now. I'm a Meath man.
Yeah, well, they limped out of the championship. Meath probably would feel a little bit aggrieved over the Donegal game. A couple of the seasons they went their way, but realistically, not super proud of the game by any stretch. So where Kildare exactly, we don't really know, and that's sort of putting on the hat and thinking with the head for no one would love them more to win on Sunday, we said, but I just you have to go on the facts that like while I was coming out after the Meath game with a pep in my step and maybe thinking that Dublin playing Carlow weren't, had the hunger, had the desire, and then you look at them against West Meath and you're thinking, what chance have Kildare? But I think the one thing Kildare have and have really focused on is a huge pace, and particularly in the fall. And to compete at that level, you need to have that. You need runners off the shoulder. You need to go at Dublin, and we have that pace, which we haven't had in a good few years. And the forwards are really having, putting up high scores, and Carl McNally seems to be rejuvenated in his role, and we've got a few players back. Daniel Flynn has had a third time with injury and coming back from Australia, but he's back to full fitness. Kevin Feely, again had a stint in across the way playing soccer, but took him maybe 12 months to get back to playing he's capable of playing, but and Paddy Brophy coming back. So there's a lot of pluses for the Kildare team, but it's a major ask for them on Sunday. I just don't know whether we are just there yet. As a team in an average age of 24, I think it might be just a year or so, maybe too soon for them. But I expect them to really give Dublin a good game and put them to the pin of their collar in lots of ways. But I just think over 70 minutes Dublin will have too much.
And Johnny, you were one of the best forwards that we've seen in the last kind of 2 decades. You took your man on, you were able to score from distance, you had everything. These Kildare forwards, for the first time in a long time, look like they have the potential to open up teams. Like Daniel Flynn was very good against Meath, scored 1-4. Colin McNally got 1-3. You've got Paddy Brophy, Niall Kelly, Fergal Conway, and then even in midfield you've got a really good fielder who the mark seems to be invented for in Kevin Feely, and then you've got Tommy Mullick from Leixlip. So there is the makings of a really good team here. Maybe this is the game where Kildare can really come of age.
Yeah, and absolutely, and I know, talking to a few of the lads, they're really looking forward and not buying into the way I'm thinking by any stretch. They're going to go and have a right good cut, and don't get me wrong, they have the capabilities of doing damage. But I just think mightn't just be ready for it just yet. They're very capable of causing an upset, no doubt about it, and they leave a bit of luck, but to win that you need that. And the other thing with this group of players as well, the vast majority have had success against Dublin at underage, and that is a massive thing, because it's the mentality teams go into play Dublin. I mean, Dublin are, let's call it spade a spade. This Dublin team was probably as good a team that ever have said the game. Talk about the great Kerry teams and Dublin teams of the 70s, and Kerry teams of the noughties and Tyrone teams. This Dublin team is as good as what's ever played the game, and so with huge experience, and you just look at their bench and see what they have. So in saying all that, they're going to be beaten at some stage. I think Kildare are hungry enough to beat them. I know that they've looked at nothing else, and while nobody getting ahead of themselves. Even early on, they wanted to play Dublin. The way the draw went, they want to play Dublin in a Leinster final. They see that as a barometer to measure themselves. And I expect them to have a right good go on Sunday, have a right go at them, and they, maybe not show them the respect that other teams have. They'll set up defensively, but it won't be a pass the bus job. They'll go at them hard. And as you say, we have the pace and the power and the finishers inside. But we need our big players having a really big game, and we probably can't afford for Niall Kelly or for Daniel or Kevin Feely to have an off. If we do, we'd probably struggle.
So, Paddy, Johnny Doyle reckons that this is the best Dublin team that have ever played the game. How do you see this going? First of all, can we get Paddy Power's prices on the outright match betting and also the handicaps?
Yeah, no bother. It's 1-14 Dublin to win the match. It's 20-1 the draw, and Kildare to win the match is 9-1 at the minute. Dublin -9 is even money. The handicap draw is 11-1, and if you want Kildare +9, it's 10-11 currently.
Well, I think I might want Kildare +9. What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely be on that side as well. The one thing about this game is it is going to be a really good barometer as to where Kildare are. I think they're a much, much better team than the team that got, absolutely annihilated by Kerry 2 years ago or whatever it was. The big thing for Kildare here is that if you looked at the Westmeath game, I don't think they're going to be that naive, and they're no one is ever going to set up like that against Dublin again to see where they are, because that's what they'll do. They'll just beat you by 21, 22 points. But possession is going to be huge for Kildare. So what Kildare have really based their whole year on, and they've really made phenomenal use of the mark, because you've got Kevin Feely, who's performing unbelievably, and you've got Tommy Mulick as well, who's a big guy who can kind of win balls. So the Kildare kickouts are going to be very, very interesting, because if they can win possession, if they can kind of keep the ball off Dublin. So what Dublin are really good at is getting Kilkenny on the ball and getting these kind of just popping passes around and nearly tiring teams out. If Kildare can get on the ball a lot, if they can kind of that transition period, if they happen to win marks, if they win the ball back off Dublin, they do have scores in the team. So if I had to have a bet in this, it would definitely be Kildare in the plus. I probably will end up back in Kildare in the plus, because I think they're a team really going the right way. They're a team that can score. They conceded 3 goals this year in the league, but in no game did they concede more than 1. And they even in Championship this year, I think they conceded after 12 seconds against Downey Kingston or whatever. They never really looked like conceded a goal against Meath. They look defensively sound, and I think they're in a really good place to come with a big performance against Dublin.
Yeah, I'm sick of these bullshit pundits that come out with Westmeath have to have a go at Dublin. They can't just come and sit back. We heard Desi Dolan on the Sunday game, and I think Desi's a great fella, but you listen to these pundits and they're saying you can't lower yourself, publicly humiliate yourself you have to have a go at a team. You can't sit back. You have to play against the team. You have to set up against the team you're playing against. You don't see Jose Mourinho teams coming out and trying to play Barcelona by going man-to-man and trying to beat them football-wise. You need to set up properly to the team you're playing. Am I right? Sorry about this rant now, but just really
No, absolutely. It's absolute suicide to do what Westmeath did against Dublin. You could see it from the first Conor Callan score. You were just kind of going, if they'd play this open, they are going to concede 25 plus points. There's just no two ways about it. I mean, at least if you do what Carlow did, and maybe people can say that Carlow didn't have a chance of winning the match, but before Brendan Murphy got sent off, they were within 3 or 4 or 5, and they gave him a decent game of it. And Carlow walked off the field with their head held high, and they said, we performed as well as we possibly could against Dublin. They're realists about it as well. They're not saying if we go toe to toe to Dublin, we're going to go out and beat them. We have Paul Broderick, but they have 15 All-Stars that win it every single year. That kind of way. And then I could kind of, there was a thought process during the week that Westmeath had gone and done it the other way, but when you saw what happened to them last week as well, I don't think it did them any good going out with getting absolutely hammered like that. At least in previous years in Leinster finals, if they've lost by 13 or 14, they can kind of say they give them some sort of a game.
Now, Johnny Doyle, you told us earlier on in the show that you're going to be you told us earlier on in the show that you're going to be the next Kildare manager. So if for argument's sake, Cian O'Neill picks up a bug on Saturday evening, you get a phone call from the Kildare County boy, said, Johnny, will you step into Cian's place there for Sunday? And you have to set the team up the way you want. How do you set them up for this game?
Well, you're quite right. You can't go in naive like Westmeath, and I'm a bit like you. Going out and listening to the general public talking about playing open, expensive football is fine, and that's what the general public want to see. But at the end of the year, Cian O'Neill won't be judged on what fair play to you went out and had a go. and you were bet by 25 points. That's no good to anybody. And that was long-term damage. I mean, Kildare got put to the sword by 20 odd points against Kerry, and it took time to get over that. And you're walking down, because I've been on the end of those tough days in Croke Park, and you're walking down this main street in Newbridge, and you've your head bowed, embarrassed. So that's not what anyone wants. And you have to try to get the mix. If you go on past the bus and say, right, we're going to try stop Dublin, and we've seen that in the past. The 2011 semi-final. Donegal, it was just the worst football. It was 4 points to 2 at half time or something ridiculous like that. But you can't just go all up, but you have to get your defence right, and you have to be able to take teams on the counter attack. And I think that's what Dublin are very good at. Like, we listen to Brawley and these guys on the telly saying, Dublin are very good offensively, and they just go out and play beautiful football. They're the most defensive team you look at when you really study their defence. They get in behind the ball, you tackle hard. If you skip in by one, you're met with 2 more half balls dropping really deep, and that's the way the game has gone. And if you go out to think that we're going to go and just take on Dublin or Kerry or any of these top teams with an all-out attack football, you're going to be going home very disappointed. So for me, Keane won't change a huge amount from the game, because he has got the defence right. One guy at centre-half back just drops that little bit deep and plays that sweeper role. Tommy Mulick, drops a little bit, and you've David Slattery the last day, Fergal Conway, who played most of his early football and underage football with Kildare centre back, and very, very strong in the tackle. These guys will drop back, try overturn Dublin and get the ball.
They're big, powerful men as well. Like, you talk about your 2 midfielders that do drop back, Tommy Mulick, like they're strong, like they're well built for that role.
Yeah, they are, and particularly Fergal Conway is a very strong tackler, and upper body strength is very good, and he's a great engine. He might look to be modern for pace-wise, coming, but he's he goes hard in the last few minutes as he is in the first, and he's a huge engine on him, and a terrific appetite for work, and that's the big thing around that middle leg. You've got to get those lads hunting for every ball, and there has to be, from Kildare, there has to be a little bit of lack of respect for Dublin, and I mean that in the best possible way. As I said, nobody disrespects what Dublin have to, but it's a sort of a hate game comes from it. They have to hunt these guys down and be in their face and put them under serious pressure to have any chance. And I think Kildare will do that. They have that quality around the middle eight to cause them a bit of trouble. But on the offensive side, they're going to have to make sure every ball goes there, because Dublin are really strong on their counter attack, and that's the one thing I'd be saying to them is, once you have a pop at the post, every attack has to go there. And Tuxen, they're not going to win a certain amount of the kick-outs from Tuxen. You look back at last year's All-Ireland semi-final with Kerry, even did Kerry put him under the zone mark and put him on Tuxen under a bit of pressure. But go back to the stats, and he doesn't have won a serious amount of his kick-outs. It's what happens then. It's pushing up. It's causing backline under pressure, the half backline under pressure, and when they meeting them with 2 players, and that's what Mayo and Kerry are very good at. And the top teams, the Tyrones of this world, will put it's not so much the Cluxton kick out, it's what happens next. And I think that for me is where Kildare, need to be pressing them very high up the field, albeit you can't leave the house down, and that's going to be the trick for Kildare.
So, lads, it's decision time, and I'm going to go first. I think Kildare will stay within that 9-point handicap, but I think an even safer bet, I think the way the game might be set up, I think back in Dublin under 23.5 points. It's 8-11 with Paddy Power. It's evens with a rival firm. I think Dublin under 23.5 points. Against a good, solid Kildare side, I think if they get to 20 points, they'll be doing very well. Paddy Ahern, what's the best bet on Dublin v Kildare coupon?
Yeah, I'll go Kildare +9. We're slightly odds on. I think there's slightly odds against out there. So Kildare +9. I think they're going to come with a performance, and if they do, you'd like to think they'll stay within the 9.
Johnny Doyle, the best bet on the coupon?
Yeah, well, look, it's hard. As I say, you can't let the heart rule the head. And again, bit like yourself, Kildare +9 to me is a good bet. Are they capable of winning it? Yes, they are. I firmly believe it, but I just think a lot of things will have to go right for Kildare, and maybe a few things wrong for Dublin. And we haven't seen that. We have to go on the evidence we've seen to date, and not just this year, but over the last number of years. And I just think at the moment, Kildare might be just a little bit off them.
So I think we've got 3 votes for Kildare plus 9 there, and as we said, Dublin maybe under 23.5 points for me. And a quick shout, lads, for a first goal scorer and a man of the match shout. Paddy, we'll come to you first here. Your choice for first goal scorer and man of the match?
Yeah, for both, I think I'm going to go Jack McCaffrey. I think he's due a big performance, and the way that Kildare set up, it's like if they are going to create goal chances, it's going to be all from kind of runners coming from deep, and he's proven before he can finish. So I think Jack McCaffrey for both. He's 14-1 for first goal score, and I think he's actually the same for man of the match as well.
Well, Paul Mannion was very good to me in the Westmeath game.
Sorry.
12. Okay, Paul Mannion was very good to me in the Westmeath game. I tipped him for man of the match and first goal scorer, and I'm going to repeat the feat here. I think now that he's got confidence, he has so much ability. Johnny spoke about him earlier on in the show. I think his confidence is going to be sky high now. He knows he's a certain starter. He knows he's one of the main men. What price is Paul Mannion for first goal scorer and man of the match?
Paul Mannion for first goal scorer is 9-1, and Paul Mannion for man of the match is also 9-1.
9-1, so 2 9-1 shouts. Johnny Doyle, first goal scorer, man of the match?
Yeah, I suppose first goal scorer, I differ from you a little bit, lads, and I go with Paddy Brophy for Kildare. He's done it a couple of years back, and just spun off Cooper and rattled the net. And I think he's in a really good place. He's mad for football. He's been away from the game, and he's extremely hungry. And delighted to be back playing for Kildare. So I put Paddy Brophy in there, and man of the match, I think, Brian Fenton is playing fantastic football at the moment, and he's in a really rich grain of form, and if Kildare have any chance, they're going to have to try and nullify him around the middle, albeit we're strong enough around there ourselves, but I think I give him the nod for man of the match.
There we go. So first goal scorer, Paddy Brophy. What price is that, Paddy?
Yeah, 9-1 Brophy, man of the match, or 9-1 Brophy first goal scorer.
And man of the match, Brian Fenton?
And Fenton is 11-1 for man of the match.
There you go. So that's the Leinster final taken care of between Dublin and Kildare. It should be a cracker. That's at 4 o'clock. At 2 o'clock earlier on in the day, it's Tyrone v Down in the Ulster football final. And probably one of the pairings we thought we would have, but certainly not both. Quite a novel pairing for the Ulster final this year. Tyrone v Down, Paddy, prices and handicaps on this one, please.
Yeah, 2-11 Tyrone, draws 11-1, Down are 5-1. Tyrone -6 is even money. The handicap draw is 10-1, and Down +6 is 10-11.
Well, I think everybody that's listened to this show will know that I'm a huge Tyrone fan, and to me, this is all going to be one-way traffic. What do you think, Johnny Doyle? Will it be a cakewalk for Mickey Hart's men?
I don't expect it to be a cakewalk. I think they'll win it. I'm not sure. I think Down had a fantastic win against Monaghan last day out. Monaghan's probably just ran out of time in the end. It was 2 points in at the end. So I think they're in a good place Down. After a bit like Kildare over the last while, have been talked about how bad things are going, and all of a sudden then a new setup, and I think Down they're a huge traditional county, and they love their football up there. I don't see them beating them, but I think there is a sting in the tail of them. They're certainly, they're not shy when it comes to the fight and the battle, which is going to be, how their own play and the way they set up. And Mickey Hart is building a new team there again, and that are really looking at beyond Ulster final. And I think they will have a lot to say in the championship. I just expect them to have too much for Down on Sunday. But, saying all that, it's a provincial final. I think realistically, when Down look at it, it will be a huge achievement to land an Anglo-Celt on Sunday. And for them, I think that would be real progress, and it might be as much as they can expect out of the year. And so they will be putting everything they have towards Sunday and seeing it as the highlight of their year. Where Tyrone might be just looking at Sunday and beyond, and thinking that we're looking to get a crack in the business end of the championship. So
I'm getting the impression, Johnny, that you think Down will stick within 6 points of Tyrone. I
think they will. Yeah, I think they will. I just think that passion and hunger they have, and that they will really, throw all their eggs into one basket and give it everything they have to see, as far as they see their year going, and that sounds very critical of them, but I just think realistically that's where they're at the moment, and to cause an upset on Sunday would be the pinnacle for their year, where I just think there's a little bit more in Tyrone. So, I expect Down to really go at it and really give them a good game. I just don't think they have enough to get over the line.
Well, I have bad news for you, Johnny. I think you're wrong. Far be it from me to criticise Johnny Doyle, but I think Tyrone are at a completely different level, and I hope Paddy Ahern from Paddy Powers is going to agree with me here. Tyrone -5, I think it's 4-5 with yourselves. Paddy, talk a bit of sense there, will you?
Yeah, it is very, very hard to see Down coming to winning the game. Like when you see what Tyrone have done this, like I was kind of critical of them at the start of the year, but they haven't really put a foot wrong so far. Like the one thing they're going to have to do to cover this handicap is score goals, and Down haven't conceded a goal yet in the championship, but like this is going to be a completely different animal that they're facing. I do think that it's just going to be...
Down conceded 2 goals to Armagh, did they not?
Down, jeez, no, yeah, you're right. Yeah, sorry, yeah, don't know what I was thinking. I was just looking at the
lucky I was on the ball there, Paddy.
Yeah,
2 goals point in the first 10 minutes, I think.
Yeah, I'll go back to sleep there. No, you're all right. I would just be worried about... I'd be worried about Down sticking in the game. Like if this game starts to go away any bit from Down, like it could get pretty big. If they come with the same kind of performance that they brought against Monaghan, because everyone was saying how poor Monaghan was. I actually thought they were really good that day. Like it's not inconceivable to see them staying within the 6, but like if Tyrone get any sort of run on them at all, they could definitely go. We'll kind of say up to 8, 9, 10, I'd say.
Yeah, I think I'd have to agree with you there. 4-5, -5 Tyrone, and as I say every time Tyrone are playing, just keep an eye out for Niall Sludden and just watch that man go. This could be the game where he really should have got man of the match in the semi-final against Donegal, really should, but this could be the game where he comes alive. Any Niall Sludden prices for his biggest fan, Paddy?
Yeah, he's 12-1 for the first goal score, and we'll give you man of the match price. I think he's around. He's 10-1 for man of the match as well. So
10-1 Niall Sludden for man of the match. Well, there is a price. So quickly on the 2 qualifier clashes, Tipperary v Armagh. Hard to figure out either team, really, Paddy, isn't it? And I know the betting has changed considerably over the last couple of days, has it?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, there's kind of a difference in opinion, we'll say, for this match going around. So,
I think Boyle's originally priced this up pretty lopsided, didn't they?
Yeah, I think so, and they're still in comparison to others. I think they had Tipperary decent sized favourites, but it's for us now. We're 10-11 Tip, 6-5 Armagh, and 15-2 the draw. Like I just like it's very reactionary. Obviously, Tipperary were very, very good last weekend, but nobody wanted them for a cent against Cavan. Like all the money we saw during the week was on Cavan. There's a good chance Quinn Livin will be back, but it's questionable to see is he going to be 100% fit. I know he came on and played a few minutes last week, but like you were saying last week with the ligament, it's kind of a funny kind of an injury. If you look back in the league match that was played pretty much, I think, close to a kind of a championship fair, because it decided who went up, and Tip got the last minute goal to win it, but Armagh really should have won that game. Like I would, like talking to everyone who was kind of at that, I think a lot of people agreed that Armagh were the better team that day, and they were really, really short. I know they were at home, but they were proper short favourites for that. They were like 4-11, 1-3. Like I was kind of saying at the start of the show, I think there is a performance in this Armagh team where one day they're just going to absolutely shoot the lights out. Tipperary are going to let you do that, and in a big open field in Thurles, I'd say Saturday could be the day, so I'd be on the Armagh side if I had to have a bet.
Yeah, 2 votes for Armagh. I'm with Armagh as well. Johnny Doyle, Armagh v Tipperary. Which way do you see this going?
Yeah, again, Tipperary. We heard all before the season started about all these guys that lost from last year, and that if they had the team that they could with all the hurlers and that they'd be up there at the very top. But yeah, they're still going strong. And there's certainly lots of character in that Tipperary team, and led at the helm by Liam Tarrant, who's a serious GA man. So they're in a decent position, and they have that small man syndrome. Every time they play, they just seem to have no respect for anyone and really go at teams. So they're in a good position. I'd be hoping Armagh, bit like they have the ammunition to get good scores. We haven't really seen it from them so far. They sort of spluttered along and I'm not convinced by them. Just think it's the same in a game where Tipperary are not overly ultra defensive. It might give their forwards a little bit more room, and on a big pitch like Central Stadium is, it could just be enough to spark that thing where the forwards have a really good day. So I hesitant vote for Armagh on this one. I just think they might just be splutting along, but still have enough to just get over the line.
Lovely, and we're obviously guessing here, but we're thinking that it's going to be all one-way traffic for Monaghan against Carlow. Very quickly, Paddy, the prices for this and the handicaps and a selection.
Yeah, no bother. I think we're a 9-point handicap at the minute, so it's Carlow are 9-1, 20-1 the draw, 1-16 Monaghan. It's a 9-point handicap. Carlow evens, handicap draw 11-1 Monaghan, -9, 10-11. Yeah, if this is going anyway, it's going the Monaghan side. I'd say like they proved if they really want to go out and do what they did against Wexford, I'd say they could. It's been a long season for the Carlow lads, like a lot longer than they're used to, and they owe nobody anything now at this stage of the championship. So I'd just be worried that Monaghan could go to town them this weekend.
Do
you concur, Johnny?
Yeah, it's hard to look beyond Monaghan in fairness and look at it'd be the romantic story we'd all love to see if Carlos remain in the championship. And down in Dr. Cullen Park as well, it's not the easiest place to go either. And the players, I don't see them setting up any different than they did against Dublin. They're playing defensive. It's a tight enough pitch down there, but I still expect Monaghan to have too much up front for them and just that bit more experience than they have, and for Carlo to put up a really good fight and just walk away with their head held high, but you would fear that maybe if Matt Anderson and Jack McCann and these boys bring their shooting boots, it could be in trouble for Carlo. But in saying that, the Carlo showed a bit of hunger all year. They don't show any fear factor, which is good for a team that, results over the last, in the history of the Carlow football, haven't been good. It excited me against Dublin, particularly Sean Murphy in the middle of the field. I really thought he was, he epitomised what you wanted in a player on your team. He was hungry for work. He didn't show any fear. He tore into every ball as if it was like the pivot on it. And it's been hard to bring that hunger again. But yeah, too much. Monaghan will have too much, unfortunately.
Well, I think the best bet on the coupon is under 14.5 Carlow points at 4-6 of Paddy Power. I think they'll struggle to get by 10, I think. So under 14.5 Cavan points. So there you go. All that's left now to reveal is the best weekend bets. And that the 2-point handicap could be obliterated. Yeah, I've had a couple of nightmares on these naps, which obviously with Cavan and Mayo letting me down over the last couple of weeks. So I'm going to go first this week. We're going to hopefully turn over a new leaf. And Tyrone -5 at 4-5 with Paddy Power, I think, is the bet of the weekend. Paddy Ahern?
I'm going to go for Armagh to beat Tip. I think the prices out there, the 6-4, I think is too big. So, just from a value point of view, I'm going to back Armagh to beat Tip.
Johnny Doyle, the best GAA bet of the weekend is?
Yeah, I think the same. I think Armagh to beat Tip is a good price. I think just knowing the way they set up and the way the hunger that's there, and obviously knowing the way Kieran McGeeney thinks and stuff like that, I think I'll go with Tipperary.
So 2 votes for Armagh to beat Tipperary and 1 vote for Tyrone -5 down. So that's it for this week's show. My sincere thanks to Lily White legend Johnny Doyle for joining us, and from Paddy Ahern from Paddy Powers. I've been David Jennings from the Racing Post, and don't forget to join us next week.
Paddy's gearing up for the GAA All-Ireland Football and Hurling. For all live TV championship games, it's money back as a free bet if your losing first goal scorer scores a goal anytime. Max £20. Excludes shops. T's and C's apply. 18+. BeGambleAware.org.